Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Truth to Lies podcast. Let's talk about the Summer Wells case. As most of you know, Dawn Wells is currently in custody for unrelated charges, and we recently had the first anniversary of the disappearance of his daughter Summer, 5-year-old Summer. She was 5 years old when she disappeared. And Dawn issued a letter that he said is addressed to Summer, a letter to Summer and a prayer. And this whole case is an interesting case. It's still ongoing. Summer still has not been found. Investigators are working tirelessly, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Sheriff's Office. And it's a case that really needs to be resolved. There's a lot of people out there in the public and in the local community there that are really concerned for Summer and her welfare. With that being said, in this letter that her father issued, there's a couple things that we want to look at. I'm going to show you the letter, and I'm going to read it to you as well. And there's some questions that we're going to have regarding this letter. You know, I mentioned that there's a lot of concern for Summer. Well, we want to know from the letter, what is her father's, Don's linguistic disposition towards Summer? What does he reveal in his language? And we want to know, what is the priority of this letter? So when people write or speak, oftentimes, almost all the time, their priorities will be revealed, and their disposition towards others that are mentioned within their language. There's a lot of things that are revealed. And so we want to know, what is the priority of DW's letter? Who is he writing to? Okay. And what is the linguistic disposition towards Summer? Why include the Lord's Prayer? In this letter, he includes the Lord's Prayer. What's the purpose of that? Why would he include that? And what other traits might be revealed in his handwriting? It's a handwritten letter, and so from the handwriting, we can actually see some traits that he has, that he's revealing. Okay, so let me read you the letter, and you can follow along. So at the top of the letter, he wrote, "A letter and prayer for Summer. Since you've been gone, I've been completely devastated. I looked everywhere for you, my beautiful girl, ! I thought YouTube would be the most powerful tool to help find you, and perhaps it still could be, but at a price we may not be able to afford. Our family may not survive! I'm sorry, my beautiful girl, that I completely lost my mind! With so many thoughts of people harming you, and I know you want to come home, and there's nothing I can do. I'm powerless! So, I ask God, please look over my precious daughter. We love her so much. We wish God you will return her to us, as well as the boys. I would be so happy to be a family again." And then he exclamation that. Next line, "Please bow for the Lord's Prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass." And then he wrote an S over the D in trespassed, but the first thing he wrote was trespassed. "As we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Thanks." And he signs it, Dawn Wells. Okay, so from that, we want to answer those questions. What is the priority of the letter? Who is he writing to? What is his linguistic disposition towards Summer? Why include the Lord's Prayer? And what other traits are revealed? So I'm going to break this down rather quickly, and I broke it down a little line by line, well, most lines. And if you're looking at this on the video, you probably noticed that there are a lot of words that are misspelled, and there are a lot of capitals, capital letters where they don't belong. In the middle of words, at the beginning of words that don't belong, need to be capitalized. So there's a lot of erratic behavior in the handwriting. Okay, so I'll just tell you now that that relates to erratic thoughts in the author's mind. All right, so that's one thing. So he wrote, "Since you've been gone, I've been completely devastated." So who's the focus of this? Well, the focus is Don and his well-being, his emotions, what he's been experiencing. The focus is not at all what Summer has been experiencing. He's focused on his own welfare, not Summer. Okay, so I find that a little disturbing. I know that the letter is just beginning, and so I look to see if this continues or if it gets better. I hope it gets better, you know, as I analyze it line by line. But it doesn't look like it's going to, and from what we just read, it doesn't look like it. So, and also, it wasn't enough to just say that I've been devastated. He had to qualify that. He said, "I've been completely devastated." And when people when people qualify, use qualifiers like this, it's typically it shows a need to persuade. It's a need to convince. And it shows that by just saying I'm devastated, or I've been devastated, it wasn't enough for him. So he had to qualify it, all right? So it's okay to have a qualifier. We all use them. But we want to see if, you know, we take this into context. Why qualify this? And in conjunction with him not being concerned for Summer's well-being, it's his own well-being. It's a convincing statement that he is completely devastated, or has been completely devastated. Okay, so I hope you're seeing what's going on here. Then he says, "I looked everywhere for you, my beautiful girl." So the focus is still on him, what he did. He doesn't go into any detail. He just says he looked everywhere. So that also implies that since he has looked everywhere, there's nowhere else to look. It's been done. And in a way, he is trying to absolve himself of the responsibility to look anywhere further. He's already looked everywhere. And so this is an absolving statement right here. The implication is that there's nowhere else to look. And if he's looked everywhere, then the authorities, they have nowhere to look either, because it's already been covered by him. Then he says, "I thought YouTube," and he says, and it's a U/tube, "would be the most powerful tool to help find you. And perhaps it still could be, but at a price we may not be able to afford. Our family may not survive." Okay, so this sentence is not, it's obviously not intended for Summer. This is a sentence that is intended for the public. This is a message for the public. And in a subtle way, he's blaming YouTube, okay? And he's saying his family might not survive if he uses what he deems as the most powerful tool to find Summer. And I want you to note, as he says this, with this subtle blaming, that he has excluded Summer from his family. He's saying, "I thought that YouTube might be the most powerful tool to help find you, but our family might not survive. And so it's he's separated her. She's over there, and then we have our family. And so in his mind, there's a separation there between Summer and what's left of his family. And that's disturbing. So, like I mentioned, it's a form of victim blaming. Utilizing YouTube to find Summer is at fault if his family does not survive. There's subtle victim blaming that he would have to utilize YouTube to find her. And so it's making himself out as the victim, not Summer. It's not Summer that's the victim. It's him and our family that might not survive. They're the victims. Also, he's not willing to do everything to find her. So it's a subtle way to tell the public that, hey, I can't really use this what I've deemed as the most powerful tool to find my daughter, because my family might not survive. And so he gave a reason why. And so he's saying, I'm not going to look at it. Plus, I've already looked everywhere. There's nowhere else to look. And so what he's subtly implying here is that there's nothing else to do. I've already looked. And so in his mind, Summer's not coming home. Yeah, that's pretty sad. He says, I'm sorry, my beautiful girl, that I completely lost my mind. Think about that. He says, I'm sorry. That is significant. I want to know what prompted him, what is going on in his mind that makes him say, I'm sorry. That is typically something that comes from someone that has some type of guilty knowledge, or I would like him to say something that, right after that, I'm sorry, that is very sincere. What he says is, I'm sorry, my beautiful girl, that I completely lost my mind. He doesn't say what he did to lose his mind or what happened. So it's a little ambiguous right here. But this is an indication that he is feeling stress from guilt. Stress that, notice that he didn't say, I'm sorry for not finding you. He's not saying that. I'm sorry for completely losing my mind. It's a psychological pressure release statement is what it is. He's able to say, I'm sorry, without actually saying, I'm sorry for whatever I did to you, whatever I caused to happen to you. He's not saying that, and he's been being ambiguous about it. And so what does it mean, I lost my mind, to lose my mind? And I note that he also qualified this as well. This is another qualifier that was employed here. I completely lost my mind. So we have the use of the qualifier. He needs to call in reinforcement psychologically, linguistically, to back up what he's saying. It's more of a convincing type statement now. I know that. So I'm wondering, what does the sorry relate to? What does the completely lost his mind relate to? Does it relate to what he did at the time Summer disappeared? Is it a decision perhaps that he made that now he regrets? Something like that. He's not really saying, but it seems like that he's referring back to something. I completely lost my mind. It's something in the past. Okay. Then he says, with so many thoughts of people harming you, and I know you want to come home, and there's nothing I can do, I'm powerless. I'm powerless. With so many thoughts of people harming you. So he's a lot of thoughts of people harming you. And he doesn't separate this. He just keeps going with it. And I know you want to come home. I know you want to come home. So this comes on the heels of him saying that he's sorry for completely losing his mind. And he introduces the thought so many thoughts of people harming Summer. And he says, I know you want to come home. So the question is, does he know where she is or where she went? If he knows that she wants to come home, I mean, that would be implied. Why the need to state that? What's going on in his mind that pushes that out to the pen? And it takes more effort to write than it does to simply state it. That took more effort and time to think about it. So I'm wondering, does this relate to a decision that he made when he completely lost his mind? And now he's saying he's sorry. Remember, he stated previously that he is aware of people that traffic kids. I'm not saying that's what happened. We don't know what happened to Summer. But it sure, this really raises some questions that really need to be addressed on what it is that he is sorry for that made him lose his mind, that he's sorry he completely lost his mind. Okay? He says, so I ask God, please look over my precious daughter. We love her so much. I note that he slipped from the I. I ask God, please look over took ownership of her precious daughter. And then he says, we love her so much. So he included other people. We wish God you will return her to us as well as the boys. Okay? I would be so happy to be a family again. It's not we anymore that would be happy to be a family, but he would. And it makes me wonder if there's discord between he and Candace. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and know what those conversations have been like. If she visited him, wrote him, what's that been like? Because he wants to be a family and it's not a we anymore. All right, so it's significant. Those pronouns are significant. They're powerful. Now, I note that in that, what I just read, he evoked deity. He evoked God. So I ask God, please look over my precious daughter. We wish God you will return her to us. So who does that? Most of us pray. I pray daily that I don't feel the need to portray myself as a man of God or this good guy. This is what he's doing here. This is the purpose of in publicly putting that out there. This is a letter to the public. That's who the letter is addressed. That's the intended audience is the public. Okay, Summer is the tool to get it out there, to get the information out there. He's going to write a letter to Summer, but he knows that the public is going to get this letter. So he knows that's who is going to read this. And so I want the public to know I'm a good guy. I'm a man of God. In fact, almost a holy man. All right. Now, from past conversations that I have listened to of Don, and some of them I've analyzed, a lot of you have probably seen those. This is Don's MO when he is feeling guilt or deception is in his mind. He portrays himself as a holy man, as a church-going man, and that he prays. And this is typical of his MO. Okay, so that's what he's doing here, and that's the purpose of reciting the Lord's Prayer. And I find it interesting that he says in this letter, please bow for the Lord's Prayer. It's like he's portraying himself as a man that can conduct everybody to please bow for the Lord's Prayer that I'm going to pray now. And you know, the way that this is being sent out there to the public, that's where I have a problem with this, is that this is an attempt to, it's a smokescreen, if you will, and it's an attempt to portray himself as somebody that he's not. I hope he prays, and you know, a lot of people pray, and that's great, and I hope he does, and I really hope that he is, you know, has a come to Jesus moment, and and asks forgiveness and sincerely and does the right thing and repents. But this is not repentance. This is portrayal of, look at what a good man I am. I'm reciting the Lord's Prayer, and I'm going to ask all of you to recite it with me, which makes me even a better man, because I'm bringing all of you to Jesus right now. And so it's a smoke screen, and it's those types of things that we have a problem with. Now, what's the priority of this letter? This is the question. What's the priority of the letter? Well, it's an attempt at absolving himself. It reveals a need to utter the words, I'm sorry. But the problem is, he didn't say, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry, Summer, I didn't find you. I couldn't find you. And not anything like that. Is not even really humble in it. But it's for losing his mind, completely losing his mind. It's a need to portray himself to the public as a holy man of God, a good guy. So who's he writing to? Like I've already said, the public. He knows Summer's not coming home, and he's not going to be part, and she's not going to be part of our family. All right, which is sad. Linguistic disposition towards Summer. How is he? Who is Summer to him within his language? His disposition, the linguistic disposition. What does the language tell us that his disposition is towards Summer? Well, he did not express concern over her well-being, how she's being treated. He did not plead for her return, anything like that. And that's what we want to see. That's what we see in statements from parents that are de facto innocent, that are literally concerned about their kids. We see all that. The concern for them, and a plead for their return. Concern only for them, not about themselves. And we don't hear concern about themselves until they're asked specific questions about how hard has it been for you. And typically then they will say a little bit, but they'll go back to, it's been hard for me, but not nearly as bad as for my sweet daughter, Summer. Something like that. And we didn't hear anything like that. So in his mind, he has actually separated Summer from the rest of the family. And it tells me that he likely does not believe that Summer is ever coming home. He has stated that he believes that Summer's in a dungeon somewhere, or that she's been killed and buried, things like that. But that contradicts this letter right here. So his disposition is not good. Still, we have no plead for that the abductors be found, that the abductors be brought to justice, that the abductors repent and do the right thing and tell the authorities where Summer is. We haven't had any of that. And so why the need to include the Lord's Prayer? Well, like I already mentioned, the need to portray himself as a good guy, God-fearing guy. It's a smokescreen. And so that's what we have here with DW's letter. It reveals a lot. Every time somebody speaks or writes, we get a lot of information. It reveals a lot of information. And the handwriting, we have the erratic behaviors, erratic thoughts in DW's mind. And I'm sure there's a lot of erratic thoughts. This guy is saying one thing, but he's thinking another. And that's just typical. We have a lot of misspellings and stuff like that, which speaks probably to his education level and that type of thing. But most of what I see here is that he's more on he speaks from an emotional level, and he is speaking with these irrational thoughts bouncing around in his head. And it reads like that. It's kind of disjointed, the letter is. And so that's what's going on in his mind. All right, well, I hope with like everybody else that the authorities are able to solve this case, and I really hope that DW and Mom do the right thing and let the authorities know what they know. And, you know, I think the authorities have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And I think eventually that this case will be solved. But for now, all we can do is keep the word out there. Everybody keep their ear to the ground, because Summer's somewhere, obviously. She needs to be found. And, you know, every time that the folks or anybody close to them speaks or writes, we're going to get a little bit more information, another piece of the puzzle to put in there. And I think that's what we have right here. So, all right, everybody, all you investigators, keep up the good work. All you first responders, we're praying for you, in the military as well. And our hearts go out to you, everybody. Keep them in your prayers. Until next time, keep your language positive and be good.